Hey, I'm Josh. I'm the student pastor here at SciLife Church. And I wanted to share something really personal with y'all. I feel like we can do that. Can we do that? Okay. I didn't start drinking until I was 19 years old. And it wasn't that I was holding off on drinking because I had a higher moral compass. It wasn't because my parents told me not to do it. It wasn't because of my relationship with Jesus, which I didn't have at that time. I didn't drink because 3 out of 4 of my grandparents died from alcoholism. And so I was convinced, even in high school, I was convinced that I was an alcoholic before I ever took a sip. I believe that was just in my DNA. That was a part of who I was, and so I didn't drink. I remember I was over at a friend's house, and as I was there, I was sitting down. We were watching a movie. It was really funny, and so that's going on, and they start making drinks for the people in the room, and sure enough, they made me one, and I was like, hey, I don't drink, and they're like, hey, it's okay, we just made it for you, just leave it there, no big deal. And I'm sitting there through this movie just staring at this glass. And I'm looking at it, and as I'm looking at it, all these things start kind of coming to my mind, all the hurts, all the frustration, the fact that every time I talked to my parents, it turned into a huge argument, the fact that I didn't feel like I belonged in my own family, the fact that my GPA was slipping, and everything that gave me value and purpose and worth, I was watching disappear right before my eyes. I felt this incredible pressure. I felt like I was suffocating. I felt like I was alone. I felt like there was nobody else who really knew me. And if you did know me, you only knew the me that I let you know. I felt completely alone. And I remember looking at that glass and just saying to myself, what if it helps? Like, what if all those feelings, all that pain, all that hurt, all those things that I'm wrestling with, what if this glass, this alcohol, this beverage, this thing that I said I won't do because my grandparents passed away because of it, what if it actually helps? What if it solves this problem that I have? And I looked down at the cup. I raised it to my mouth. And I drank. You see, we're going through this series called The Elephant in the Room. It's a series where we're talking, students, there are topics in front of you every single day at school, and we don't talk about them, even though they're big and they're important, but they're uncomfortable. And they're stressful to address, and we don't want to talk about it, and so we don't. And we're going through this series where we're going to address the elephant in the room. A series where we've talked about abuse and anxiety and depression and sex before marriage and sexuality. And today we're going to talk about addiction. You see, when I took my first drink, I got exactly what I wanted. I stopped caring. It's not that the pain went away, it's not that the hurt went away, but I just stopped caring about it. In John 8:34, it says this, it says, everyone who commits sin is the slave of sin. If you commit sin, you become a slave to it. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that alcohol is a sin. You can talk through that with your parents. Jesus did some cool thing with wine. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is addiction is a sin. Becoming dependent upon something more than God absolutely is a sin. See, the truth about addiction is it's a peace problem. It starts with a burden or a physical need, and we choose to meet that need with drugs, with alcohol, with pornography. And all of a sudden, that thing that took the edge off now becomes something that you are reliant upon. You become addicted. You need it. You're a slave to it. You're shackled and imprisoned by it, hopeless. See, when I took my first drink, I so badly wanted peace. I so badly wanted all the conflict and all the other things to go away, for me to stop having those struggles. I wanted the hardship to be over. But the issue was, I confused peace with numbness. The problems didn't go away. I just stopped caring about them. It wasn't that the conflict was better. I just wasn't worried about it. See, addiction starts with seeking peace in dead ends. Addiction starts when we seek peace on roads that have no end. They're not going anywhere else. They stop. They're broken. No one intentionally starts an addiction, right? Nobody sits down and says, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become addicted to Facebook or Instagram today. I'm just going to spend so much time on it, and I just want to be so addicted. Like, nobody says that, right? Like, nobody says, hey, today, pornography, you're mine, I'm addicted to you. That's not what happens. It starts with a need. It starts with you seeking peace in the wrong places. See, after taking my first drink, it took me less than 2 years to burn every bridge that I had, to destroy every relationship, to hurt the people that I loved. See, the problem was when I traded peace for numbness, I stopped caring about my problems, but I also stopped caring about people. I stopped caring about right and wrong and what was good, and I only cared about myself and how I would get that next drink. The thing that had freed me from my pain now held me captive and often caused the pain that I needed protected from. I want to be clear. Addiction, alcohol, drugs, pornography, attention. Hey, some of you, it's attention. Just seeking the spotlight. Social media, your phones. Some of you are probably on your phones right now. Addiction is turning something into an idol. See, idols are when we prioritize something over God, and 2 Kings says something about that. In chapter 17, verse 15, it says this: they followed worthless idols and themselves became, what did they become? Worthless. See, when we seek peace in dead ends, we allow those dead ends to start defining us. They start becoming who we are. Hi, I'm Josh, I'm an alcoholic. Right, like all those things. Hey, you know what? That's who I am now. That's where my worth is. That's what I'm tied to. I become the dead end that I follow. And it steals our peace. My world was so fully revolved around myself. What you could do for me, who was going to be drinking with me that night. And in some of you, this seems extreme, right? This seems crazy because it's like, oh, okay, man, I've never drank before. Some of you have. Some of you are like, hey, I've never done drugs before. Some of you have. I've never looked at pornography. Some of you. But there are so many other things that we become addicted to and dependent upon because of an internal burden that you have. I don't feel accepted at home, and so I'm going to seek the spotlight everywhere else, right? I'm going to get attention. I want you to know that I'm funny. I want you to know that I have value. See, some of us so badly want the spotlight to be known as funny and smart. But the truth is, if the light on you is brighter than the light in you, then the light on you will destroy you. You become worthless. The things that we are addicted to that turn into idols, that we become dependent upon, steal our value. At 21, I experienced this firsthand. My 21st birthday. My brother and I went out. We did a lot of the things that you would expect. Got in a huge fight. And I hurt him incredibly bad. I got an email from my family saying that I wasn't invited to Christmas that year. I moved out because I could no longer live with my brothers. My 2-year degree that I was taking part in, I was 4 years into and not even close to finishing. I was nocturnal because I was up all night, and so I slept during the day. Couldn't keep a job. I was so far from who God was calling me to be. I had no hope. I remember looking in the mirror and I felt absolutely worthless. My life had hit a dead end. But here's what I want you to know. Whether you are at a crossroad, a highway, or a dead end, there isn't a path that Jesus can't find you on. He isn't afraid of your dead end. He isn't afraid to step into it and help you turn around. See, when I finally started trying to get my life back on track, when I finally said, okay, I'm done with this addiction that I have, I'm done with alcohol, I'm done, like it's ruining everything, and I am ruining everything because I am just so numb, I don't care. And once I finally got rid of that one thing, that thing that I was latched onto, all of a sudden I had room in my heart for Jesus. All of a sudden I had room for him to start doing tremendous work. See, I was so far gone, so deep in my addiction that I knew that Jesus was my only hope. If I wanted peace, if I wanted to solve this peace problem, I knew I couldn't do this on my own. I had tried for so many years, and it had only gotten worse. Over the next 2 years, I developed this hunger to know who God was. I developed this hunger of just, man, I just want to know him so badly. And all of a sudden, people start showing up in my life. People who were going to disciple me, right? Like people who were going to walk beside me and meet me where I was at. People who were going to go ahead and love Jesus in front of me way more than I did. And me just standing there saying, man, there is a light inside of you and I want a part in it. How do I get that? Yes, addiction starts with seeking peace at dead ends. But addiction ends with seeking peace where life begins. It starts with Jesus. Man, you want peace? Do you want hope? Do you want a light that pierces people's hearts? Do you want to stand apart from everyone else? It doesn't come from a video. It doesn't come from pornography. It doesn't come from drugs and alcohol. It doesn't come from your boyfriend or from your girlfriend. That internal conflict that you have, that wrestling that you have to find peace and to find comfort and belonging. Doesn't come from those things. You feel unrest, you feel uneasy, you feel at odds with the world. That's because we don't belong here. You should feel those things. Man, we belong in the garden, right? Like we don't belong, like we belong walking side by side with God just like Adam and Eve did. And if we're not at peace, that's because we're not doing that. It starts with burning our idols. Replacing the addictions, the pursuits for false joy, the pursuits for things that we're latched onto because we think it'll solve the peace problem. And it comes down to burning those things and saying, no, I'm going to cling on to the creator of life. I'm going to cling on to the Prince of Peace. See, my life has been radically changed by me trading my addiction for Jesus. Everything's different. My wife, and if you know her, you know I'm married up. I say it all the time. My wife never would have married the guy that I was. Wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been a good dad. I certainly wouldn't be pastoring to a church in Texas. Wouldn't happen. The point is, Jesus has big plans for you. But we have to be willing to let go of those things that bring false peace and that bring numbness. We have to let go of those things and press into the peace that comes with knowing Jesus. See, if addiction is a dead end, Jesus is our way out. Would you pray with me? Jesus, we love you, and we ask for your forgiveness. There are things in our lives, things that we have prioritized above you, and some of them are big things, but some of them can feel really small. But Lord, I recognize that if we have made a small thing, just as simple as a cell phone, if we've made it more important than getting to know who you are, if it's become more important than spending time with you, Lord, then that conflict that we were trying to solve with our phone or with friendships or relationships, they have no value compared to who you are. And God, we want to experience the peace of what it looks like to be up there with you, walking so close to you that we can touch you, Lord. Like your love is so strong and so deep, we just want to be a part of it. Help us to let go of the things that we cling on to. Help us to hold on to your hand as we step into new understanding of what faith in relationship with you actually looks like. We love you, Lord. Amen.